Hi, my name is Jill. You are here at Road Culture Rules, and I wanted to keep this conversation going. I wanted to talk about the idea of, can angry, crazy women learn to appreciate and love good men? And I say the answer is yes. The only way I know how to describe that is tell you a little bit about how I got to be able to move to that place. But before we do that, I have a special surprise for you. But we're going to take a deep breath, inhale, hold for 4, exhale, and we're going to see you on the other side. Hi, baby. I know, I'm going to get out of the way here. So that is our first baby cow. It's my favorite mom. She has the best babies. They're super spunky and they run around. And I also wanted to show you that because that is the guy who works the land with the cows. And he is such an example of a good man. And probably in my 20s, I wouldn't have appreciated him the way I do now because he's not complicated. He just is patient with me. He's easygoing, and he displays all those qualities like honesty, integrity, responsibility, dependability that we don't think are important usually until we get older. But he is such a good man, and he works hard, and he has a great family. He has 3 great kids, and to me, I think that is so important. So before I kind of go into a little bit of the story, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is that we're so focused on the few people that are bad guys. There's the bad boys, there's the egomaniacs, there's this huge thing with psychopaths that people are obsessed on. There's the power hungry guys, but the truth is it's the good men that move society forward. And I think that the best I can do as a woman in terms of this new paradigm, this new world we're moving forward, is to find a way to absolutely know that I can love and appreciate good men. And most of those men aren't out doing big things. I think that's the big mistake, is if you're not out saving the world, if you're not living the ultimate hero's journey, then you haven't accomplished yourself. And how not true that is. And I think, the guy I was telling you about here, he's such a perfect example because he's not out doing great big things. It's all about just getting from one day to the next. And everything about our system is crashing in on him. You want to learn about having a hard life. It's a farmer and a rancher. And I don't know if I brought this up, but farmers have twice the suicide rate as our veterans because our policies are so screwed up around producing food, but that is a separate issue. So there's nothing exciting, but I think that the amount of strength and fortitude and commitment and courage that it takes to just keep putting one foot in front of the other is something that all of us need to appreciate. And I think it's probably what I would like to say as a woman. I won't say all women, but as a woman, that's one of the things I think it's really important for me to do and to find a way to express is how do we support the good men? Because I think there's way more good men. They're just not flashy and they're not looking for attention, and they're busy doing the things that keep this world running. And so this is why one of the reasons I want to make this video today was I want to, like I said, keep the conversation going, because it isn't the great big stuff, it's the little stuff, that each decision and each step that really determines our life and the bigger picture. But the abstract, what are the politicians doing? What are the entertainers doing? What are the power brokers doing? We focus on that, the crazy people doing, because there's crazy men and women out there, the angry men and women, what they're all doing as somehow a barometer of what the truth is. But really, the majority of the people, I think, are just really good people putting one foot in front of the other, trying to survive. And so I just want to make sure that as we go through this process, that we really are honest about what's of value in the world. And there are, there's good women, but today we're talking about good men. And so the reason I said, well, how did I get from being an angry, crazy kind of woman is that, there's just a lot I didn't understand. And, I came into the world a little off. There were some issues, a little Asperger's maybe. So there was I wasn't quite normal, I think, out of the chute, so to speak. But, what I learned in hindsight is between an unstable blood sugar, because I needed to be a vegetarian, and then hormonal inputs through birth control, and then nowadays, who knows what's in the water source. I was incredibly unstable, and I often think, what my life would have been like had I understood a lot of the chemical hormonal influences on me as a woman earlier, that if it really might have changed things, because I was extremely unstable, and it wasn't pleasant, and it wasn't anybody's fault, but there was a lot of acting out because of my instability that I didn't understand. And so the angry part, I think came from some of the stuff that happened. And also, that instability. And it all got wrapped up into somebody that was very difficult to be around. And it was only when I made that decision that it wasn't everybody else's responsibility to accommodate me, and I was willing to suck it up and do the things I didn't want to do, look at the things I didn't want to look at, and manage my external life from the inside and not from the outside. That's when things really changed. And, at a spiritual level, I had a very difficult time, with the idea of God in terms of a male energy. I couldn't even use the word for a long time. And now I can use it in a non-gender way, in a neutral way where it doesn't elicit any emotional response for me. But for a long time it did. And I share those examples because that's everybody's journey. We're not here to find a perfect man or a perfect woman, and we'll never have a cultural breakdown of perfect men or perfect women, because it's always going to be a dance. It's always going to be a pendulum. It's always going to be an evolution of what can be. And the real lesson, or the real screaming in what I see is the real call to action, is to stop focusing on what's going on out there. And really, we're in a tremendous period in our world history where we have information, we have time, we have resources, we have so much access to be able to take it and become something different. We're not born into a caste system that says you have to do this, you have to live this way, and there are no choices. I mean, we have so much opportunity. And so when I give you that little title, How One Angry Crazy Woman Transformed, the second piece of that, or the other half that I want to talk about, is some of that's just developmental. All women are hormonal, 18, in your teens and 20s, and it's really hard to manage that. It is not personal. It is not personal. So even on a good day, that part's hard to manage. And part of this power shift is really, for women and men, is learning how to deal with conflict and anger in a new way. And I'm going to do this separately, but the old style, right, of I can't cope, I can't problem solve this situation, and so maybe the more traditional, I think Jordan Peterson talks about this, men hit each other to resolve conflict. But we're moving past that. So how do you create a society that doesn't use violence to solve its problems? Well, in the same way as when you raise children, you don't hit your 5-year-old to get them to do what you want. So we're seeing an externalization of a lot of anger and craziness as an opportunity at a bigger level to figure out how to manage that in a not a violent way. And a lot of the crazy, angry stuff we see by men and women nowadays is really just, a 25-year-old, 5-year-old who hasn't learned internal self-control because nobody taught them that. And society did not give them consequences when they were younger. And so they're blurting it all out over society. So that's the more abstract stuff. And it needs to happen. It's uncomfortable to look at, but it needs to happen. But the question and the answer for each of us individually is to say, okay, that may be happening out here. How do I want to apply that and understand it internally? So it's not a very exciting idea because, of course, it requires us to do all our own work, look in our own mirror, deal with our own life, which is what most people don't want to do. So we're just going to keep the conversation going. I appreciate your responses on the last one. It was very pleasantly, I wasn't sure how it would go. And we'll keep moving, not just about men and women, but I really about what's happening in these bigger ideas. But I can only do it about 10 minutes at a time, so it's going to take a little while. I hope that you will keep joining me on these little snippets. But before we go, I'm going to take one more deep breath for the road as I hope you will rise with the sun in your eyes, love in your heart, feet firmly on the ground, because together we are walking on Survival Road, one step at a time. Live free and die wild, my friend. I will see you next time.